You're listening to the best of ITW, brought to you by Pop Guide and WikiLeaf.
The new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
On this episode, ITW welcomes musician Ruben Rivera of Manic Hispanic and the Grabbers.
Oh, you should do, Bubs. Can you give one of your hockey intros to Ruben Rivera?
Yeah.
Of Manic Hispanic? You can assign whatever number you want.
Rubin Rivera.
Maybe, yeah. What would be a number that Ruben likes?
Give him,
What's his area code?
Number 13 for
Number 13.
weed.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Mexican
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for, number 13 in the program, number 1 in your heart. From the band Manic Hispanic, we bring you Ruben Rivera.
It was so funny making that. You probably, to the listener at home, you probably just heard something very similar to that at the beginning of the episode.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
Marconi and I, when we were producing Bubs, it was so hard to pull him out of the hockey voice at first.
So good.
We were like, you just be yourself, and Bubs can turn that shit on like
It's
that.
brilliant.
I don't know how you're not a famous guy like that, like a famous
Voiceover
voice.
We were just talking about that too.
Yeah, got to get into that. Yeah. I mean, for me, the pinnacle of my voice career has been the Stony Creek Sabres.
Yeah.
And I was so blessed as you as my agent and Marconi to bring that to me, that when you hit the top of your career, it's hard to do other stuff. Like I could go do a Ford commercial or a wrestling thing.
I
But
didn't want to say anything about it, dude, but you peeked out.
dude,
I'm just trying to be a real friend,
Why
dude.
don't we talk about Ruben first?
You know?
16-year-old
All
girls
right.
hockey team
Yeah.
out of Stony
Exactly.
Creek.
Yeah.
Ruben mentioned it too. He was like, dude, I remember Bubs was like, he's like, it's cool. He's still on
He was all bummed that
podcast,
Bubs
you
was.
know?
He's like, I'm not even going to do this fucking shit. He's like, where's the voice guy? Where's the voice guy?
Come on. But Ruben, it's been my bandmate in Manic Hispanic. He started the band. He's one of the original members. I've been in the band with him for I don't even know how many years now, 15 years or something. Yeah. And Ruben's just a great guy. He is a pillar of the fucking SoCal punk rock music scene, the drummer of the Grabbers, one of the fucking best bands to ever come out of Orange County, and he's just got so many fucking amazing stories from the old punk days, dude. And like he was just there, you know.
Let everybody know what Manic Hispanic is.
Manic Hispanic is a band that started in the early 90s and is kind of like Weird Al meets Cheech and Chong, and it's all punk music.
That's a great way to describe it.
Right? You know? And it's parodies of punk songs with Chicano themes. So like Offspring's, you know, you got to keep them separated, got to get them immigrated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was the Fugazi cover you did recently? Because you're
Waiting
also
Room.
you're also
I
singing.
ended up becoming a member of the band after loving them my whole life. I was at their second show ever.
Yeah.
We did Fugazi's Waiting Room. We parodied it, and it was called Holding Cell.
Yeah.
You know, so Ruben, you know, has been in that the whole time, and I've always been a big fan of his. And we became friends, and now we're brothers. You know, and his story is pretty incredible.
He really opens up in this one. It's pretty.
Dude, it's heavy. I didn't know he was going to get as personal as he did.
Yeah.
You know, I thought he was just going to come on the show and blow our minds with all these old punk stories.
Yeah.
You know, but he fucking he's the one that introduced me to Troy.
Yeah, they're
originally.
close. They're friends.
Yeah, and
I think that's kind of the go ahead how we got Troy.
it is because I met her through Ruben, and then he made it happen.
Yeah.
You know, but he's just an incredible guy, and he got really personal and deep because he's lived through a fucking lot, man, and he opened up about it and just told a very personal story. So, and since then, we've released a new Manic Hispanic record.
How many records did you put out during the pandemic. Do you put up a record with all of your bands?
3 records out, yeah.
Wow,
That's
dude.
crazy.
That's wild, huh?
And then you got a whole bunch of side projects too. So
yeah.
you still managed to stay busy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely did some shit, man. It was.
Thank God.
Oh, I know. But yeah, Ruben, it continues to just be one of the funniest dudes ever, and fucking just great, and a total fucking weed advocate, man. Like he really gets behind it, you know, and not only as just a cannabis enthusiast, you know, he really believes in it. So it was cool. It was really cool to talk to him and talk to him about his life. It's definitely an intense episode, man.
Yeah, but it's really, really good, and it's really sincere, and it's and he's really like humble, you know, guy. And also, thanks again. This is another one that we shot a program. Let's not
absolutely
not
shout out program.
Yeah.
And me and Bub, we were talking about this last night about how intense Ruben's episode was, and our time was with him. So thanks, Ruben.
Yeah,
you're
thanks.
fucking brother, man.
It is really. You know, it was nice. It's nice when that happens because we all like to shit, you know, make jokes and you know, just fuck around and get high. And it was nice to have a real human conversation with somebody who's as lovely as he is.
We went through a lot together, you know, in our band. I joined the band in 2008. The first time I saw them was like in 92 or something like that. And we went through a lot since 2008. We lost 2 band members, you know, so, you know, we stopped playing, we started playing, we stopped playing, we started again, and then we figured it out, you know, and we're fucking so stoked now. Now we can talk about the guys and laugh and smile, you know?
Yeah, that's
so,
nice.
yeah, the songs make us really happy, and I've been through a lot with Ruben. I love you, Ruben.
Thanks so much for doing the show, and I know everyone is going to love this one. Rubin Rivera.
Get some.
Orale.
Cool. Get some.
I love that.
Orale.
We're here with Ruben Rivera, drummer for Manic Hispanic, and also just like you've been in a lot of fucking bands, right?
Yes, I have.
Like, where does this start? Where does this begin?
I started out, first of all, right out of high school. I started jamming with some guys from high school who were kind of like doing this little goth thing, and they were called the Prophetess, and then they did some Cleopatra stuff, and that was right when the internet was new.
Cleopatra Records.
Yeah.
That's
and
a great label.
we got chosen to be on a Sisters of Mercy compilation, and we did First and Last and Always and Alice, and it ended up on an album. So from that, like the guys, I just wanted to play live. I wanted to be in a punk rock band. My brother was an original bass player for Shattered Faith, which was like
Hugely influential California
79,
band.
yeah. There were 79 to 81. I got 2 of his singles.
You would know
great.
Kerry Martinez as the original guitar player of the U.S. Bombs.
From the U.S. Bombs.
wow.
Yeah. So Kerry is like pretty much like an older brother. The guys know me since I was in diapers.
It's our guitarist and Manic Hispanic's cousin.
Yeah. Maurice Torres' cousin. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So, so we kind of, that's how I kind of got started. Was just, you know, by older brothers and stuff like that, and started playing in bands and started doing like ballistics. After that, after like the Prophets happened, I started doing a psychobilly band, and my first tour was with the what were they called? They were
The Meters?
The Meteors from England.
Yeah.
And they hadn't been to the States in years, and that was my first West Coast tour, and we toured in our singer's uncle's like custom Econoline van. It was so rad. It was like 4 of us. And
Your band played at my high school in the video production class after class.
Oh my God.
I was working there.
Yeah.
You didn't know that. I've never told you that.
No. I
Or did I
remember
tell you
that.
that? Yeah,
you
I
had
was
told me
there.
that because that was
Yeah.
when I left the
Public
Ballistics.
access television.
Yeah.
I was working in there trying to learn how to use a camera.
And it was great because it was
could
like it was
volunteer.
like an ROP class.
It was an ROP course, yeah. ROP was the regional occupation program.
Exactly. For Mexicans.
For Mexicans. Yeah, pretty much for Mexicans. Like, you're a loser Mexican? Oh, we'll give you some job training. You're not going to college.
You need to trade.
So awesome, dude. So I was one of the kids in the class filming this guy's band play before I knew him. I've been a fan of his since I was a teenager, dude.
And that's what's so
Cool,
funny
huh?
is that after I was in the Ballistics, we ended up doing the demos. What I did at your school was all Grabbers demo work before we even released the album.
Oh,
So,
when you
remember that live?
The Grabbers are the band he was in after Ballistics that became very popular in Orange County.
That was
everywhere.
Right there. There's a little single on the wall.
Anyways, that's right.
Brand new single. It's really cool. But yeah, so we started with the Grabbers, and I remember that was I remember we were having so much fun playing that the stage split, and I think Maurice's foot like got stuck in the middle of. Do you remember that? It was like the whole stage broke apart, and Maurice's foot is stuck. And we just stopped playing because we're lip syncing basically to the song, but we're still we're all playing our music, our instruments. But when Maurice fell through, we were dying laughing. I wish I had a blooper video.
Dude, that's amazing.
Blooper
and the Grabbers, you guys played with everyone.
We did. Oh yeah.
Whether it was like The Offspring or No Doubt.
Yeah, our first shows were like doing support for like No Doubt, Offspring, Sublime. Did a lot of shows with Sublime. We used to just go out and do road trips with those guys. Do shows with No Doubt. 25 people at Bakersfield. Nobody fucking there at a Tweaker hotel.
Imagine 25 people for Sublime.
It's like it was crazy. It was fun and it was just like every scene has its like 2-year window. That was our 2-year fucking fun, and that was just such a fun time to be alive.
You guys came around when the smoke was clearing because there was that whole period of time when punk was dead. And like Cadillac Tramps and you guys were carrying Orange County on your backs and keeping the scene alive because, dude, it was hard.
It was
hard. Like the Adolescents weren't playing at that time. A lot of bands had ceased to exist.
If
for
you could
the
go
time.
see SD at the Doll Hut and there's like
Social D.
40 people there. And
because punk died right before the 93, 94 boom.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And you rode that wave, dude.
I rode that wave, man. I was like right there. It was so much fun. I was like I was a 21-year-old kid, dude. I was like,
it's amazing.
Somebody handed me the keys to the kingdom. I was just like, yeah, do it.
So Manic Hispanic started because the way it was told to me by my elders. Yeah, you guys are older.
Tell the story, mijo.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was originally intended to be a Freddie Fender tribute band.
Yes.
Freddie Fender's a very famous Mexican singer from Texas, a Tejano singer, but he's rad for so many reasons. The right reasons and the wrong reasons too. Just sweaty, coked out Mexican dude in like a purple suit, just playing guitar. And they're going to be a Freddie Fender tribute. But from what I understand, you guys didn't learn enough songs. You're like, let's just play punk songs.
What happened was, that was the original idea, was actually they were on the road. It was the Cadillac Tramps and Joyride were two really
Steve Soto
great.
and
Steve Soto's
Gabby's
other band.
bands.
Yeah, and Gabby, Steve Soto had a band with Greg and Tisha, and they were called Joyride's great. They were on Dr. Dream. We were all on Dr. Dream records back in the day. So it was us and Cadillac Tramps, and then the Grabbers, and then Manic Hispanic did some stuff with them. But
the two Johns from Oingo Boingo had Food for Feet on that label too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was crazy. The Joneses did some recording with those guys. I mean, it was a fun label.
Meat Puppets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I mean, But it was the original idea was born out of a tour where Maurice and those guys were like, hey, we're gonna let's start like a doo-wop band. It'd be fun to do a tribute to Freddie Fender, and so that's what it was born out of. And then what happened was, a few months later, the drummer from Joyride, my friend Sandy, got sick, and they needed to fill in. So they happened to, like, that Friday before Joyride had the show booked. They were headlining. It was a Saturday night. And Friday afternoon, I woke up and I was like, I'm going to go to Dr. Dream and hang out to the record label. And because I was young, I was, single, I was, still living maybe with my girlfriend at the time. But, I was like, I needed money. So what we do is we go to the record label and they would give us free shit and we go sell it for dope or whatever. And so that was kind of how it was. And
you were always the guy out of everybody that was smoking weed.
Yeah, well, see,
like
that's
nobody else was a stoner. It was like not punk rock to smoke weed.
It wasn't. So when I showed up that day, that first practice, or actually that first Friday, I remember Steve. It was Steve Soto and Maurice were in the warehouse, and I walk up and like Steve goes, "Hey, dude," he goes, "We need a punk rock band to play for Joyride because Sandy's sick." Our drummer, he goes, "You want to be in a band called Manic Hispanic?" I'm like, fuck yeah. He goes, what are we doing? He goes, we're just going to do punk rock covers. He goes, every one of those songs. And I go, I'm in. And I left. And then I showed up the next day, and Maurice and I were just like, it was rad because we were two young kids. Like we were like Gabby and Steve, we looked up to those guys, and to be in a band, we were shitting our pants, but it was great.
And
it was
Warren,
one
of the best bass players from the area, who was in Final Conflict and a bunch of great bands.
So those early days were so much fun because those guys were our heroes. I know for me, I was just like, wow, I'm like looking up these guys, and then we became friends and played shows and recorded records and things like that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And what year was that?
That was like 93, 93. Yeah, 93 was that first year.
That's what I can't believe. My first show was in 2008.
Wow.
That's insane.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I remember seeing
for
you.
sure, Manic Hispanic.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you you were at the Cal State Fullerton show.
I was at your second show ever.
I know.
Dude, I'm super fan the whole time.
I remember that.
You guys, grabbers, Cadillac Tramps, talking to you outside. Hey man.
Well, that was where we took that picture of all of us.
Our bass player, I see him outside of the show, right? When Cadillac Tramps played, I see our bass player, who I would have become my bass player, I guess. Or
Yeah,
I would have been
exactly, of
his
course.
singer. I see him outside, and I have my poster, and I'm all, hey dude, I had it rolled up. I'm all, would you sign my poster? And he's like, whatever. And he takes it and walks away, comes back with it rolled up, hands it to me, here you go. And I walk away all stoked. And I remember walking to the bus stop, and I opened it up, and it just said, fuck you. Dude, that's amazing. Punkers, dude. Like real life punkers. I was like, oh my God. I want to be just like that guy.
Dude, Warren was the best. I saw him and the Tramps play over at the Mad Hatter. Was it Mad Hatter or Mad Platter?
Mad Platter.
In Riverside.
Yeah.
And Matt Beld, who ended up being a band, ended up being the guitar player in the band years later, was there as a 14-year-old kid, and he was hanging out, and he was like, hey, dude, it's like, hey, will you sign my friend's, Cadillac shirt? He goes, yeah, sure. So Warren takes it. They're like 14-year-old boys.
Yeah.
And Warren takes the shirt, and he goes, kick me, I'm gay. And he goes, right on, Matty.
He just walks away with.
And then he looks at Matty, and Matt had this big old beautiful pompadour, and he goes, hey, man, he goes, you into rockabilly? And he goes, yeah, man, I am. He goes, oh. And he looks up and he has, oh, man, he just burned me, but such a small world how we did that, but still Warren was the best of fucking with people and signing fucked up shit.
It's amazing. So
great.
Fast forward through Manic.
Yeah.
You also played in Los Infernos, who had releases with Alternative Tentacles.
Yes,
you spent time hanging with Jello Biafra. Like,
I did.
That's a whole nother insane chapter. Like,
oh, dude, I got the raddest VHS video of us playing. This is back in the day when they used to do incredibly strange wrestling in San Francisco at the place called the Paradise Lounge.
Yeah.
So they would do like a real wrestling show in between the bands. And like what they would do is they would hand out fucking bags of tortillas to throw at the bands and at the wrestlers. And it was crazy. We played this place and it was like, and it was like 600 people there and the Dwarves were playing after us. And at the time, when I was in Los Infernos, Matt was a really good friend with Jello Biafra. So he was at the show, he came up and we did, he's like, yeah, I want to do a song. They did a cover of the Animals Crying. So Jello came out and he put his own words to it. And he goes, hey, let's just try a couple of our tunes. So cool. So I ended up playing about 45 seconds of Police Truck with him.
Yeah.
And it was so fucking rad. And he's like, and we stopped. He's like, you know what? Maybe we should just forget about it and just stick with Crying, because he sounds exactly like he sings. And
that's so great.
But it was pretty bitchy. It was fun. And so we did some time with Los Infernos and did an album on Alternative Tentacles. And that was a lot of fun. I was like late 90s. And then we kind of took a break and Manic was kind of towards the end because, everybody was kind of going their own separate ways and, Gabby was kind of in trouble a lot, so we kind of took a little break so everybody can get kind of sober, really, to be honest with you. And
half of Manic was a sober band.
Yeah, they were. I mean, the Cadillac Tramps that was a
famously
staple.
sober because Gabby was known for getting a lot of people sober.
He was.
And the Tramps were known for being a sober band and
part
of the sober movement, which is huge here.
Yeah.
Which is great because it saved a lot of people from the Orange County punk disease. Dude.
I know, but still, it's just so tragic with our Generation X. It's just there's so many people that just have. I mean, on your hand, I just fucking died. In their 40s and 50s. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's always been very prevalent here. Opioid addiction in Orange County's
so
always
crazy.
been huge, dude.
Yeah.
Huge.
Of course. Yeah, it's just.
You never fell down that trap.
No,
You've
I
always
didn't
been
really.
a cannabis user.
Yeah, pretty
even
much.
when you were ill. Can you talk to us about that?
Oh, sure, yeah. I actually, when I first really started using cannabis was when I was my brother had passed away. It was in 2004 of a drug overdose basically a pill overdose, and I spent a lot of time numbing myself with alcohol and I was really depressed and I was married at the time, so it was a tough time. I was a shitty dad and a shitty husband and things got kind of rough, and then it was I started seeing a psychiatrist and they were prescribing me Zoloft. And I started taking these psych pills. I'm like, in between I'd smoke pot, but after a while, it just got to be so much. I actually quit cold turkey. There was a few times I felt I was going to fucking die. So I immediately after that point, when I was trying to fix myself and, get over my brother's death, is when I started, using cannabis and using it to medicate myself, because it was like, I never felt like I was going to die or like I was, having panic attacks. And I never had a panic attack in my life until I was on psych meds, and it freaked the shit out of me. It was scary. Like waking up in the middle of the night thinking, I'm going to fucking die. And it just go, am I having a heart attack? I'm like 40-year-old guy going, is this it?
Yeah.
It was scary. It was fucking scary. So after I did some time, I researched, I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to do that anymore. And ever since then, now since like that happened, and then I actually was diagnosed with kidney cancer. So when I went through, I didn't go through any chemotherapy or anything like that, but I had to go through, a surgery to have part of my kidney removed. And, thank goodness they took out the tumor, and I've been cancer free for now 8 years. But after that happened, I was like, this is kind of a wonder drug, and it's like pretty rad, because now it's like, I do a lot of edibles and things like that to help me sleep. And it's just like it's just an amazing wonder drug that people need to really know about. And I've actually kind of turned my mom onto it. She's 83 years old, and like just a couple weeks ago, we were about a month and a half ago, we gave her some CBD oil, and I was telling her, my mom's pretty progressive for an 83-year-old woman. She knows her shit, and I talked to her about it. She goes, well, give me some. So we gave her a little bit, and she kind of sat on it for a while. And then all of a sudden I talked to her one day, and we called her. So have you tried that, the CBD I gave? She goes, yeah. She goes, I wanted to talk to you about that. She goes, I was watching CBS News. And she goes, Gail, Oprah's friend? She goes, she uses CBD oil. She's not on, on drugs or anything like that, and it helps her. And right then, my mom was into it. I'm like, cool, and so I've been, buying different strains for her. And she found one that worked. Fortunately, I lost the jar that the original came in, so I can't remember the brand. But I'm still working on it. But there's others that we've had that are helping my father. That now she's, actually turned on my dad.
Where did you guys grow up? Did you grow up around here?
I grew up in Fountain Valley. Yeah, I actually was born in Downey, and then the whole family moved from Norwalk in 72, and so I was born in Fountain, pretty much raised in Fountain Valley.
Did you have a lot of brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I did actually. There was 6 of us. When we first moved out, there were 6 of us, and like the whole backstory with our family, it's like. Another part of the extension of my depression was I've lost all my brothers and sisters. It's just me and my younger brother now that are still alive. So my mom had 6 kids, and it's like every decade of my life, we kind of buried an older sibling, and my mom.
Were you the youngest?
No, I'm actually 5th from 6.
Okay. So
my mom was married to a man who passed on this really bad, horrible disease called Marfan Syndrome. And her first husband, she had 3 kids, and then her husband died. This is in the 60s.
Holy fuck.
And that was unheard of being a single mom with 3 kids. And then, her husband died. So now she's a single mom, got together with another man, and had my oldest brother, Paul. But they never married. So he was part of the family as well. He was another half brother. Then my mom married my dad in the 70s, had me and my younger brother. So in 83 is when my oldest brother, Frank, my mom's first kid, we always knew that they would succumb to their illness because it's a degenerative tissue.
So do they know most of their life that they had this?
Yeah, they all knew. Yeah, a lot of they knew. Yeah, and it was perfect example is if anybody is a big fan of the movie Fast Times, which what stoner isn't.
Yeah.
All right, well, Mr. Vargas, he's their science teacher. He has Marfan syndrome, and that's exactly what my older brother. They all kind of have the same physical traits and look from their disease. They're all tall. They got really lanky hands. And if you want to see exactly what my brother and my older sisters kind of resembled, you watch Fast Times, and that's Mr. Fargus, and that's the guy. He was in that movie Ghost, which was huge. He was a huge Marfan, advocate. He's still alive, and he's living with his disease, but it's been pretty devastating, So
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's tough. So, it was crazy. So what happened was, in the succession of how it happened, my oldest brother died in '83, and then my oldest sister Cindy actually died the day I got married, which was fucking crazy. So she died. So, and then that was pretty tough. And then so we went from like 95 on to probably like the early 2000s, and then we always knew that my sister Renee, who was the other one who had the syndrome as well, was going to succumb to her illness. But, my brother at the time in 2004, got sick. He was working for McDonnell Douglas, hurt his back, and had been in this program for 10 years, had 10 years sobriety. And he went off the wagon, and, he went from zero to, here to zero in less than a year, and he died. He died on New Year's Eve. It was fucked up. And that was when...
And that's because of the drugs.
Yes, exactly. Because he because of the opioids. Yeah, I mean, he was taking 15 pills at a time, and just, it was rough. The last time
Did you say he broke his back?
He had injured his back over the years, working in small, tight places. He was an inspector for McDonnell Douglas. So he worked on the military side and worked on the C-17, but all those years of him, he was in the Army, and so he had done some time in the Army and was a helicopter mechanic. That's what he did for McDonnell Douglas, and he was basically kind of the guy who turned me on to music. Well, at least the music I was playing, the punk rock stuff. So, but so after that, it was kind of rough. I mean, that was like when I look back at my life right now, it's like that's when it really hit me. It was bad. It was a bad time from that time on until I really started figuring out, I should use, cannabis. And, unfortunately, my brother died, and I went through this really hard time of years of just really just drinking a lot, and partying. And
had you used cannabis before that recreationally? And
recreationally. Yeah, it was always fun, but I never really thought about using it as a medicine until when I stopped going to a psychiatrist and kicked my meds, and it was like, this is really helping me, do this, get through fucking life without snapping. There's a lot of people that I could easily have gone down the same road that everyone like my brother went, and so many of the people that I've known over the years, and
sorry if I missed it. What year did you get over the did you part ways with your psychiatrist and get?
That was probably about 2000, probably about 6 or 7. Yeah, there was because I did for a few years. I was like where I was trying to figure it out and felt like I had to go to the next person, this one, and more meds, and then I was just like I couldn't take it anymore. But at the time still I was I had small kids, so it wasn't like I was. It was just in a different place,
Mm-hmm.
And now, since then in the last few years, I ended up, unfortunately, after, my brother Paul had passed, we buried my sister Renee, who was the last one with her disease. And that was like in 2011. And then it's crazy because just 2 years ago, not even 2 years ago, my niece Melanie, who was my oldest sister's daughter, was basically raised by my mom and dad. She was like my mom's, grandchild, but she called her,
Sure.
grandma, and my dad. Well, she unfortunately, had the same disease, but she was a pretty healthy kid. And then from on, in October of 2017, she was going out to meet some friends by herself, and some drunk driver killed her, and she was 24 years old. It was rough. It was so rough.
Heavy.
So there's a reason why, cannabis helps me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could really easily, I like to drink like a fish, man. And if given the chance, I will fucking do it.
I used to drink with you all the time.
I know. And it's like, man, some of the hangovers and it's so bad.
And the irony is that we're in a band that was primarily a sober band.
I know, right? That kind of started.
I remember my first show. I was so nervous. That Rancid show we played, I was so nervous. And you guys were like, and I remember being backstage and I'm all, these guys are annoyed with me. You guys are like, chill out. And like, I was so nervous. And I remember Soto, totally sober, looks at me, he's all, you need to fucking have a beer, dude. And they all made me, I remember they made me drink a beer and I didn't want to drink because I didn't want to fuck up. Like, dude, God, it was crazy.
That's so good.
Fast forward though, all these years later,
Yeah.
you're living a positive life. You
Yeah,
have a new
everything's
Grabber
good.
single out.
Yeah, I got a new graphic.
You know, like, it's crazy.
It's been fun. I'm really looking forward to hopefully, we can, recharge, Manic and
We have
finish
a
the record.
an unfinished album, which
Yeah.
now that I'm home, I
Yeah.
can start finishing the vocals and Steve Soto, some of his last recordings and
yeah.
some of Gabby's ideas are on there. His
Exactly.
last ideas that
Yeah.
we figured out, and
That's cool.
it's gonna
Yeah.
be cool, man.
It's been something that we've been really wanting to do. I mean, it was such a hard blow because we lost Gabby in January 2017.
Yeah,
And then like
Steve a year later.
Steve, not even, just a little over a year later,
Yeah.
and that was so hard because we had worked so hard, like we were so amped, and it was so cool because
we were done, and then we felt recharged, and like we can do this now.
Yeah, we're gonna do this, man.
gonna
We're
honor
back
him.
on. We're doing this. We're like, what? This is for Gabby because we had a struggle. We were like thinking, it's like, well, how should we go about this? Are we?
We can't do this.
Yeah, we can't do this. Are we going to change the name? What are we going to do? And it's just like, basically the light switch went off, and it was just like, what? Well, how do you guys all feel about just calling it Manic Hispanic and keep going? Because basically, one, Gabby said, I want you guys to keep going. He didn't say change the name of the band.
And I think we were afraid because there were so many haters out there. People were hating on us, dude.
It was weird because it was like, the old guard was just like, it's like, hey, it's not going to be the same because now it's like we got new blood. We had Louis Perez come in as a singer and record some songs with us, and then we had Dreamer. We had Gilbert,
aka Dreamer,
a little Dreamer came up, and then Ephraim stepped up. For a while there, like when Gabby was really sick, it was
rough, man.
It was rough because Ephraim had to really toe a big line and fucking
Gabby
bless
came
you,
to shows
dude.
straight from dialysis.
He would.
Sometimes. He was
There were-
dialysis 3 days a week.
There were times where Gabby was throwing up on stage in a trash can, and it was scary. I remember just like going, "What the fuck are we doing?"
We're telling him like, dude, we don't have to do this.
You don't have to do this, and he would
just do it.
I just want to be there, man. And it was like, and then you really told, God bless you, dude. You fucking really. There were times where, towards the end, before Gabby passed away, Ephraim had to do the shows by himself, and that was a lot of fucking pressure.
Dude,
I can only imagine the pressure, and I mean, having to feel and fucking pulled it off like a champ. Like, you fucking came through for all of us, and we were so fucking stoked. And then to have Gilbert come in and Louis come in and lay down some new stuff.
Manic
It
always
was-
had 3 guys in the
Yeah.
front. Gabby was the front man.
Exactly,
I
yeah.
was the side man, and then our
Yeah.
Sonny was just like, he would bark a couple songs out and just tell jokes all night.
Yeah, pretty much. He was
It was,
comic
like we had
relief.
it was like we had a comedian on stage with us. It was so funny.
Old, like Sinatra style shit.
Totally. It's
Pretty much.
totally how we were, dude. Yeah.
He was.
I would do all the harmonies and like it was cool.
He was our little ska dancer.
I know. Sonny
to
was
the
just a
Boss
skank.
Tones.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, he was like our Boss Tones
That
guy.
was exactly.
Sonny's the
Sonny.
best.
Yeah,
Like he was like kind of part of the heart and soul of the band, though.
Yeah, he was. I remember he came on. Like we did some shows
People asked
as,
about him
as like
still.
a 5-6 piece, and then we brought him in, and it was a lot of fun. It was pretty cool.
There's been and Manic stayed almost the whole time. The core guys that started it.
Yeah.
And at the end, it was all the original members still too. But there was a
Pretty
period of time where Ray Rodriguez, Ray Bones, like
Yeah.
one of the earliest
Late-
Pal Pros, is the singer that I replaced in the band.
Yes.
And before him, Ace, Steve Acevedo.
Yes, yeah,
He
Steve,
was the
yeah.
original side guy
yeah,
for
he
Gabby.
was. Yeah, he does. Steve does a lot of engineering on the side. He's
Ace is a
producing.
huge sound guy. He works for everybody.
Does sound. I mean,
He's been in
works-
Jets
yeah.
with
He's-
Lenny Kravitz and
I know the guy. It's like he's had an amazing life, and Yeah, we've had some singers that have
People have come and gone sometimes because every once in a while, spontaneously, somebody in Manic Hispanic would have to go on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank God it wasn't a employment vacation. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It was a temporary setback.
Yeah.
Let's go back to when you were when you decided to get rid of the meds and stuff like that. What did you start taking? Like what was your regimen? Did you just start smoking weed like crazy?
No. What I would do is I would
because did you, and also I want to know, did you wean yourself off the meds, or did you, like, was it cold turkey? Or
no, I went cold turkey, which is what I found out I shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
I went in and told my psychiatrist, I told my shrink, I'm like, I stopped him, and he goes, well, did you wean? I was like, you quit cold turkey? I'm like, yeah. He goes, man, he goes, that wasn't smart. You're not supposed to do that. I'm like, well,
because you can go to depending on what you're taking, you can go into all sorts of shocks.
I was taking it was like 150 milligrams of Zoloft or something like that. Jeez. And then I like to drink, so it's like even my psychiatrist even says, he's like, you can have a couple glasses of wine, if you want. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, that's great. Fuck.
Good advice.
Did you feel like you were addicted to them?
Not so much addicted. It just
wasn't working.
It just wasn't working. I went. It was like the effects it would have, especially if I went out and I was partying with some friends, it became really negative, man. I was like, I'm a happy drunk. I've always been a pretty happy guy. And then when I was on pills and drinking, I was like, dude, fuck, man. I was embarrassed at, how I was acting. I was just a dick and lashing out to people and just angry, just became angry. And I was just like, I can't do this. So I stopped, taking the pills, quit drinking for a while, and then slowly just started figuring out, working out in the having cannabis in my life and being able to take that. And now it's just like, it's great. We use topicals for so many of the pains that, she and I have, my girlfriend Brandy and I, we make some butter and we have the edibles, and it helps for, there's times where I can't sleep at night, so, usually if it's not like melatonin, I'll take, which is kind of pretty natural, but if not, I'll take a few rips for sure, but a good strong edible will at least knock me out for a good 5-6 hours, and I get some good sleep, but, so that's kind of where I am with this. I'm a huge proponent, man. I mean, nowadays I have a son who's 16 in high school, and the stuff that he knows and is aware of with pills and things like that, I've had a conversation with him going, you said something about a week ago that scared the shit out of me about you being strung out on pills or the effects of being on a lot of Percocets and a beer. I'm like, please tell me you're not fucking drinking and doing, pills. And he's like, Dad, he looked at me, he's like, I would never do that. And I know he's like every 16-year-old kid. He's experimented. He's smoked pot. I'm like, just like, you know what, dude, just make it through high school, do all right, and don't get hooked on that shit. Do not. It's so bad. Psych pills and all that. It's just the worst. I mean, I know firsthand. I just, like I said, losing my brother to a pill overdose was pretty much the most, it was such a horrible thing, It really was. It was, and now I think about it, it's like it took me a long time to just, process it, accept it, and let it go, and just
you must have crazy PTSD from all that shit, dude. And I'm not trying to be.
Yeah, no, there are times where I'm not saying that there aren't times where I don't go into those dark places that I used to go.
Yeah,
I have, and I still do.
And I'm sure it's healthy.
To get through it. But you know what? Nowadays, if it used to be like maybe 2 weeks where I would just like fucking shut the curtains and drink all day and just sit on the couch, or now it's just like, you know what, I have a shitty day, maybe I'll sleep in the day, and then I'll wake up like, you know what, it's a choice to wake up every day and have a smile on my face, and and face it and go, you know what, I can do this. This is, I'm lucky. It's like, I'm lucky to be alive. It's like I look at the shit I've had to go through with my family, and it's really changed me. Now I'm not getting it. Like I'm learning how to deal with it, but like how to embrace it and still how to enjoy my life every day, each day. As I get older, I really want to be an old man, to be honest with you. It's like my mom. It's like crazy. It's like I think about like the time when my mom started having kids from 1953. and her last child was born in 1973, and like the oldest kid ever only lived to be 50 years old. That's fucking tragic, you know. And it was a lot, you know, to deal with. It was a lot to deal with for me. So I'm happy to be alive and, you know, take each day and just, you know what, whatever puts a smile on your face, you know, cannabis is just, you know, a good way to go. I think for a lot of people, where it's CBD oil, you know, for seizures and things like that, it's just a wonder drug. And I hope that, you know, our kids and when they get older can laugh about this prohibition of you know, marijuana, and just go, man, remember in the day when they couldn't smoke pot, or they could, and then, you know, they would get busted for it. And now it's just like everybody's doing it because it's just, there's so many wonderful things that have come out of a plant. And I just think we should explore it more. It would be great.
Do you only have the one kid?
I have two, actually. My daughter, Ruby.
Who I ran into in Arizona. She moved to Arizona. I walk into a restaurant to get some food, and his daughter comes. I'm all, Ruby, what are you doing? And where was I?
It was Tucson. You were in, so she is.
Yeah, and yeah, it was just totally random.
It was funny. They ran up. My daughter moved out there a couple years ago. Started going to school out there, and she's, you know, planted some roots down there. She got a boyfriend, and
she had a rad punk band here before she moved.
Yeah, they were an all-girl punk rock band. They were called Something Vaginal. Dude, they were in high school. It was rad. And I actually my one of my old phones, I have a video of them doing Bloodstains in my garage.
Agent Orange.
Agent Orange.
Great.
And I remember I showed Steve. Steve. I go, you got to see this. And he was laughing so hard.
Steve Soto started Agent Orange when he's 15.
Yeah. Right. Steve is,
another band from this town.
Yeah, exactly that. But it was funny because, you know, Steve and all those guys, you know, with our kids, they just kind of knew, you know, growing up, it's like Steve and watching our kids grow up. And it was kind of fun. And he laughed. He thought it was really that was pretty cool. But, you know, I remember, you know, when my daughter was in high school, she did with her choir. She went out to New York, and she went out and sang at Carnegie Hall, and it was funny because we had, you know, some shows after that. And I remember backstage hanging out, and Steve talking to my kids, and I remember he was like, there was a bunch of people back there, and Steve just talked to my daughter. He put Sam. He's like, he goes, "This is Rubens' daughter, Ruby." He goes, "This girl, man, just sang on Carnegie Hall, dude, for 45 minutes. Isn't that amazing?" You know, it's like Steve always went out of his way to make people feel really,
he really
well,
did.
You know,
the best ever.
You know, and so it's like, you know, my daughter, you know, was really, you know, shook up when he died, and you know, it was rough. You know, it's been a rough, you know, couple of years, but you know, it's, you know, I also, one of the things, you know, that really helped, I actually did a salvia trip, man, that really fucking changed my life.
Really?
Yes, like 2 years. Never done it in my life. I thought I was with, this is when I first started dating Brandy, and we were staying at her place, and she's like, you know, try this, and she's like, you ever, you know, done this? I didn't really know what it was about. But I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm a long time. I used to eat acid all the time when I was a kid. I was a total fry head. It was pretty rad. But so I figured it was going to be, you know, just like pretty fun, you know. So I had no fucking clue. I had no clue. So we're in the jacuzzi. We had
I was doing a lot of acid when I was a kid. Total fry head. It was pretty rad.
It was fun.
And you're at Troy's house?
Yeah. So this is, So
Troy, who's on her way here to talk to us. Troy Knoll.
Yes, Troy Knoll. Yeah. So that's where I ended up meeting Brandy. Was that summer. I met Brandy on Tinder. It turned out she was just living down the street from me.
Tinder.
And she was living with Troy. So that's how. Yeah, Brandy was hiding in OC, and that's how I met her. But she was when she said, "You want to try it?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" So I'm like, I'm thinking this is gonna be rad. I took a rip, and it was like it really fucking blew me away, man. I remember being there, and she was in the trip too. I remember because what happened was I was in the jacuzzi, and so what happened was I kind of went underwater a few times, and it was weird. The first time when I went underwater, like I remember everything went black, and I remember thinking in my head, "Oh my God, I think I'm gonna die. I think I'm dying." Yeah, you know what? This isn't so bad. And I remember I woke up. And it was because when it came up, it was like all these fucking bricks. It was like just came out, and I was like, wow. And there's Brandy holding me, and then there's this guy that kind of looked like Anderson Cooper. He's like, he's not supposed to be here. He's not supposed to be here. He's not supposed to witness this. And she was just like, everything's all right. And it was such a heavy trip, the heaviest 15 minutes of my life.
Wow.
But that really, honestly, softened a lot of edges, because I think that was a huge part in letting me let go of all that pain and suffering that I did for my kids, and from losing my brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
and
you must experience it, and I'm sorry to dig at this, but like some sort of survivor's guilt, or you know what I mean? There's
almost. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. There are times where I just fuck, man, that's crazy. Why me? It's like, but it's kind of rough sometimes. But like I said, nowadays it's like where I used to go into those really dark places for weeks at a time. Now it's just like it's okay to go through it and have a shitty day every once in a while, and go, you know what? Yeah, this kind of sucks, but like realize it and go, you know what? Hey, I got to do this today, and then tomorrow I'm going to change it. I got a choice. I got to wake up and do. I got to be productive and do what's gonna. Is going to make you and your body feel good, and whether it be, going out and taking a surf or going for a walk or having a smoke. It encouraged for me. It's always having a smoke, because it just levels me out, man. It's great. It's people think it's like, oh, you just was stoned or you smoke. I'm like, fuck, dude, there's so many functioning people in your life that you don't even realize. It's like, it's like, like a microdose every day, Mm-hmm. It's not like I'm fucking sitting there, bunging on the fucking TV all day. No, man, I'm a functioning, working, middle class, working adult. It gets me through my day, and it saves my life.
What's we have to ask, is the point of the show. What was the first time you ever tried or saw or came into contact with cannabis in your life?
Right, okay, the first time, this is a pretty funny story. The first time was my next door neighbor, or actually my neighbor who lived on the other side. We grew up on Mount Shelley Street, and then we had a bunch of kids that grew up on Mount Cook Street. It was like, oh, we're at Cook Street, we'd hang out. Anyways, one of my best friends, this guy Chad Brown, we grew up surfing. From the time we were 5, we were all friends, and one day we were, his dad was a pharmacist, and his dad used to fucking smoke the really good shit. So this was the summer going into my freshman year of high school.
What year?
This was 84.
Okay.
So I graduated in 89. So yeah, so 84 I'm going out of high school, and they were like my best friend Paul, God rest his soul. Was another big blow. My best friend Paul fucking died like several years ago. This was
Christ, man.
And what's crazy? No, I'm serious. It was just crazy. This because how about Steve and I got really close. Soto, because Paul kind of went through the same thing. He was a really obese guy, big short. He was about 5'4", but he unfortunately had such, he was like 450 pounds, couldn't get around. And when I reached out to try and, we were going to try and do an intervention with my buddy Paul, Steve was really helpful in that time, where he was like, hey man, he knows. I go, do you mind, Paul, if I exchange numbers? And Paul got really close with Steve. And then, unfortunately, Paul ended up passing away too. But now I'm fucking totally stoned and I forgot where I was going with that.
You're talking about your first time smoking weed.
So anyways, so Paul was there. Okay, so here we are. So we're there, we're hanging out, and I remember Paul goes, we walk into Chad's living room, and he goes, hey, dude, he goes, we're gonna smoke some pot. And he goes, we're not gonna ask. He goes, if you want to smoke with us, you can. He goes, if you don't want to, you don't have to. And it's like, we're not gonna razz you or anything. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So. At the time, that was like the early 80s, it was shit dirt weed, and so it's like
Mexican brick pack.
Exactly.
Yep.
You had to do, it's like back then I was like, oh, you're probably not going to get stoned your first time. You have to smoke a lot. So I was like, fuck yeah. But see, this is the deal. Chad's dad was a pharmacist and he smoked the dank back in the time. So we used to always steal his weed. 14. Great. So we were there hanging out. So first time I was 14 and fucking smoked for about a good 20, 30 minutes. We probably smoked about 2 joints worth. baked out of my brains, man. And I remember sitting there. And
So it was just you and Paul?
it was me, Paul, and my friend Chad, the three of us, because we were all latchkey kids. You know, we were all latchkey kids from the '80s. You know, it's like mom
say
and dad
that
are
in Canada?
working. You know,
Latchkey kids?
Latchkey kids. That's meant that like when your parent, like when you basically you get up, you know, you go to school and then you come home and your mom and dad are both
It's
working.
like kids that were super young kids
Pretty
that were
much
alone.
left alone. You know, it's like they give you a key and like, okay, you go home and you know, mom and dad will be home at 5 or 6. You just take care of yourself, make a PB&J.
There was like a whole generation in the States
Yeah.
because when everyone started getting divorced in the 80s, and they called it everybody latchkey kids if you didn't have parents at home. Because so many kids would just go
Yeah.
home alone, like little kids.
Yeah.
Go home alone. They had a little chain with a key and they just lock the door and you stay in your house.
Wait till mom and dad got home.
Like
Yeah.
if you were poor or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
or
so-
broke or lower middle class, you know?
No, we don't have.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We have latchkeys.
Yeah.
And divorce.
But not the kids.
Of course.
But yeah,
We're just polite enough not to name the poor children who've been divorced.
our awesome country didn't really take
Yeah.
care of the kids during those years.
Yeah. Oh, you're divorced? Your family's broken up? We're going to call you a latchkey.
Yeah, I know, dude. That's so funny, dude.
That second up bastard.
Got no one to take care of you. Latchkey kid.
Yeah. Hey, Bob. Another latchkey.
It's so cool hearing some candidates. It's so good.
Right. I didn't even think about it. I'm sorry.
No, it's great. Fuck,
Awesome.
man, that's wild.
Hey, so
Oh man.
I before this ends,
Yeah. We got to get it
because
wrapped up.
you have to indulge me really quick, dude, because I think the so Ruben tells me this story one day, and it is one of the most legendary punk rock stories I ever heard in my life, and you have to indulge me on this. So years ago, there was this great venue called the Foothill in Long Beach, and our good friend Alex booked shows there.
Yes.
And he books a Manic Hispanic show, and Gabby, our singer, our leader, he had like this squirt gun, and he forgot. He was fucking around with it, but it looked like a gun, right?
No, what happened was that was right during the smoking ban. And Gabby,
Oh, you couldn't smoke indoors.
couldn't
Yeah.
smoke indoors. So it was like that was like late 90s, early 2000s maybe.
Yeah.
So Gabby had just gotten out of jail and he was like, fuck the world. And he shows up and there's this new smoking ban. So Gabby, as a joke, I don't know if he was going to use it as a prop for the show at night. But anyways, he starts smoking during the sound check.
And you have to understand the whole band's dressed like gangsters.
Yeah, we're all dressed like full on vodka.
Gangsters,
and this
dude.
dude comes up and he goes, "Hey man, put out your cigarette." And the guy goes, "I'm not gonna put my fucking cigarette." I mean, I saw the scuffle. I'm ordering a drink and I look back and Gabby's like this. And I mean, Gabby, you know, is like he was a big man and like when he attacked, he was like a fucking rhino, man. I mean, you had to. Stop him.
Good
And
luck.
He did everything to stop him. So I remember warning a couple of people, "Hey, dude," and he was in this guy's face, and he pulls up his fucking pants, and he's got this fucking cap gun in his. So he's like, "Yeah, fuck you, man."
It was a toy gun.
Yeah, toy gun.
But they
So
looked real in
It looked
in those
totally
days.
real. So what happened was, back calls 911. We start playing our show, maybe halfway into it, and then the lights go out, and we start fucking hanging out. Like, what the fuck's going on? And then like. No sound, everything. Lights go out, and then all of a sudden you see poof, these flashlights, and it's like, "Get on the ground! Put your hands up! Put your hands up!" And we're like, "What the?"
In the middle of a crowded show.
in the middle, and it's Long Beach's finest, and they come around, they surround the fucking front of the stage, and they all have their fucking guns pointed at us.
Wow.
On stage. Steve Soto with his hands on his head, everybody.
Like
just-
guitars ringing out.
That's
like,
an album
No, there was
cover.
no sound.
I know!
So we're sitting there, and I'm like going, "Oh, what the fuck?"
And what was the audience doing?
What they pepper sprayed some of the well, I don't know if they pepper sprayed it, but they fucking moved that audience out of that fucking crowd so quick. It was
Wow.
amazing how quick that they got.
Hey,
that
and
place was
that's a
packed.
rowdy crowd to try and get out
Oh,
of a
dude.
room, man. Like,
So-
fuck.
So there, yeah.
Woo!
I actually, it's funny because I was watching the video. I was going through some of my things. When I first met my girlfriend Brandy, and we were talking about that show. And in that video, we were watching it. I still have it, the VHS. There's a point where she comes in, and it's like we were watching it together, and she goes, "Oh my god, I think I'm going to come in." And all of a sudden, there comes Brandy.
Into
This
the
was
video.
20 some years ago, before I even met her, and I start playing a drum beat. I start playing a drum beat. She starts dancing with Gabby, and they're like, "Yeah, dude!" And then she jumps off stage, and then right after she jumps off stage, that's when The cops come in.
That's amazing.
And my cousin is videotaping the whole thing. So not only is he like, he hears us walk. There's a picture. It's like he's fading out and he's walking backwards, and you see it grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's we're all there with our hands on our heads like this. Alex Hernandez from Alex's. Alex from Alex's bar was there. And he was the one who threw the show. And that was crazy.
Before I forget, what was it like? So your mom's smoking weed now, or did she takes weed?
No. My mom actually does. She's been doing a CBD topical.
Oh, the CBD topical.
Yeah,
was she into weed? Like,
No. She's maybe the next step, but probably not. To be honest with you, mostly she's inflammation from arthritis
and things like that.
Yeah, she's been through a lot in her life. So yeah, she does all right.
Yeah,
seems to be helping her.
Dude, that's amazing.
That's amazing, man. Wow.
So,
there's a lot of information I had to process here.
I know, right? That was crazy wild ride, huh?
Yeah, that was a wild ride.
It's funny. It's not funny. It's just I've been through a lot of shit, And
yeah,
I kind of when I think about my mom, it's like, she's a pretty brave woman. She gets up every morning and puts a smile on her face and it just goes, fuck, I got to do this. I'm still alive.
Yeah,
and does her best, and if anything, I can learn from. I can at least draw from that strength and just go, I'm proud of her. She's a strong ass woman, man. There's, when God forbid it's a long time from now, but when I bury my mom, it's gonna be a rough day. She's a strong ass motherfucker.
Yeah.
Hey, on a positive note,
sure.
You've got music coming up, and Grabbers are doing stuff. Man's gonna do stuff. I already know. People can find you on Instagram at the Manic One.
Yes, I'm the Manic One. And you can reach my Instagram that way if you want. Just mostly posting pictures of me and hanging out with my girlfriend Brandy and and just mundane fun stuff that we like to do. It's nothing really rad. Grabbers, same thing. We do a lot of we just got a new record coming out with our 7-inch. We wrote some songs about a year and a half ago and put a 7-inch out and recorded 3 songs and
amazing, man.
So it's been good.
Dude, your positivity is infectious and it's really it's remarkable after hearing your story, dude. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Man. I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity. I really didn't think it was really kind of I was kind of blown away to be, you guys talk to some pretty rad people, so I'm really honored to be here. Thank you.
Dude. Thank you, dude. And Ruben, thanks for telling us how you got into the weeds, man.
Thanks, Ruben. I love you, brother.
Thank you so much.
I love you.
That was awesome.
Every day.
Thank you.
Right on. That was rad, dude.
This episode was presented by Pot Guide and WikiLeaf. Please follow ITW on Twitter and Instagram at Get Into the Weeds. You can follow Ben Rispin at Ben Rispin. You can follow Ephraim Martinez Schulz at F by Stereo. And me, Bubba Nicholson at Bubba Nicholson. ITW's theme music was written by Jacob Bergsma of My Son the Hurricane. Visit them at www.msthofficial.com. Special thanks to our friends at Puff Digital, Program Skate and Sound, and the Slide Bar in Fullerton, Orange County. Sound engineering provided by Roman Marconi at Halo Studios Hamilton. ITW was created by Ben Rispin and is produced by Master Volume.